Am I the a-hole for not helping my parents during their financial troubles and telling them to get help from my sister instead, since she gets everything from them and I get nothing? My 21-year-old sister and I, 24, were raised differently by our parents. They would throw money at her whenever she wanted it, and they would spend it even if she didn't ask for something just because they could. I had to ask for everything, and most of the time, I had to justify why I needed my request met. To do that, I had to write or type out a detailed argument on why I should get any of their money. Most times, I was denied because they didn't think it was a need. Whenever they denied me, I got lectured on learning to work my butt off and learning how to beg just right and do whatever it took for money, only to be told afterward that I needed my own money because theirs was not for me. When I was 16, my parents told me they would not help me with college in any way. They wouldn't even fill out FAFSA forms for me to find out what I was eligible for. When my guidance counselor asked them to reconsider, they said no, and if I wanted to go to college, I would need to put myself through college and take on the debt myself. My guidance counselor still wanted me to go, and so did many of my teachers, but I chose to do something else. I didn't want a lifetime of debt to follow me around. My parents didn't care because either way I was expected to find my own way and pay for everything myself. With my sister, it was different. They bought her a brand new car, bought all kinds of stuff she wanted and liked, and paid 100% of everything for her college expenses. They were even sending her extra money to buy stuff while she was attending college. And now they have run out of money and are in debt because they borrowed to pay more college expenses for her. Then they turned to me and asked for my help because they weren't sure if they could eat or pay any bills with the debt they are now in. I didn't even get much of an explanation at first, but I have told them no each time and told them to get my sister to help them since she's the one who gets everything from them anyway, and I couldn't even get a stupid form signed by them. They're mad about it, and so is my sister, who thinks I am wildly unfair to push this back on her. She said I'm older anyway, so I should be helping them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents are reaping what they sow. Cut contact. Have a great life. I've been considering it for the last few years, so it might be time to follow through. I would personally be a B, so only do this if you want to be a B. Send them a text message telling them that they need to explain in detail, the way they used to have you do, why they need this money. Make sure that every little detail is in there. Then respond back with each thing they request, why you're saying no, alluding to all of them that they aren't needs. They need the electric bill paid? No, they need another job. They need money for food? Nope. They need to start a garden in their backyard. Then after you've given them a no for everything, and by letting them know that you're blocking them and your sister and going no contact, because you're making sure that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps the way they taught you, then block and live your life. Not the a-hole. I see your family has entered the faux phase of FAFO. But my question for you is, why are you still communicating with these people? What do they even bring to the table that justifies you spending a minute of your time on them? Look up the term found families and go find people who will appreciate and love you for being the awesome you that you are, and will love and support you with no expectations of recompense. They are out there and they are worth looking for. I have 90% of my family on very low contact because they just don't care to reach out. And they only do that when they want something. Caller ID allows me to choose if I want to answer, and I rarely do. Very, very rarely. I've considered no contact before, but just never followed through. I can't answer why, other than the expectation to work through things with family. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my brother after his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half the equity of his house? I, 37 female, have an older brother George, 45 male, who isn't an idiot but can be lazy. Definitely the type to rely on weaponized incompetence whenever women and girls are around. Example, he literally acted like he didn't know where our mom kept the paper plates in the house he lived in for nearly 20 years, just so she'd get up, go into the kitchen, and make him his plate during the holidays, just 1 week post her bunion surgery. Side note, they both tried to passive-aggressively make me feel guilty for not offering to fix my adult brother's plate, so our mom wouldn't have to do it. Like I wasn't already the one doing most of the cooking and would be doing most of the cleaning afterward. At age 30, George was given a windfall from our grandfather's estate. I got something too, and used it as a down payment for a nice 5-bedroom house that's easily worth double now. During this time, he met Melinda, 50 female, and she was a nice lady, smart, responsible, hardworking, sweet, and very organized. She came into the relationship with a steady job and was upfront about her lack of ability to have more children after complications from nearly losing her life giving birth to her daughter. George stated that he was okay with that, but whenever Melinda would bring up his hesitation regarding marriage, he'd say that he had complicated feelings about not being able to be a father if he chose to fully commit to her, and that he needed to process it. He'd say that since he was willing to look past her fertility issues because he loved her, she needed to show her love by waiting for him. That line worked for 12 years. After Melinda moved in, George demanded that she pay half the bills and part of his mortgage in exchange for allowing Melinda's daughter to move in with her. At the time, Melinda had few options since her former landlord was raising the rent too high, and she was helping pay for her sister's medical bills. Melinda and George justified it to everyone by saying that what she would have had to pay to George was still cheaper than her old rent. I said nothing because it wasn't my relationship. 2 years ago, George was caught cheating, and Melinda was furious and left. I don't know all the details, but she came back, seemingly to work things out. It didn't stop George from cheating again, but Melinda shrugged and said that this was still a better deal, and that as long as he kept it out of the house, she'd cope. Recently, there was some type of damage to George's house, and he needed people to come in and fix it, but he hated the labor of searching for a reliable contractor, taking time away from his job and hobbies to deal with them and handling the paperwork. Melinda offered to do it, and he didn't question it. Whatever she gave him, he signed in front of third-party witnesses. Melinda got George to sign paperwork stating that she was entitled to 45% of his house. Now she's dumped him and is demanding that George either sell his house or buy her out. George is trying to fight this, citing that he didn't fully understand what he was agreeing to, and he's found a lawyer willing to take his case, but the fees are expensive. George and our mom think that I should help, but I'm refusing. I don't see why I have to shell out thousands to save another grown man from his own lack of foresight, especially when there's a good chance he won't even win. I'm being called heartless and a bad sister, so I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. George had it coming. Stringing that woman along for years, manipulating her by making her feel guilty over not being able to have more children, having her pay half the mortgage for his house, and then cheating on her? He made the bed. Let him lie in it. My new favorite line, Schadenfreude, because karma doesn't mind if you watch. Not the a-hole, but who is expecting to have more kids with a 50-year-old? For me, it sounds more like he was looking for an excuse to play victim since the beginning of the relationship. By the way, I'm not the youngest woman, and I think this question is important. She was in her 40s when they got together, but I agree he was just using that as an excuse. Not the a-hole. Your brother is a cheater and a fool. Was Melinda a bit underhanded? Arguably, yes. Does she deserve a share of the house in return for all she paid into it? Not to mention 12 years of domestic and emotional labor? Arguably also yes. But when it comes to whether you should shell out for your brother's legal fees, the answer is an unequivocal no. He was a huge a-hole and ridiculously careless with his most significant asset, and that's not your responsibility to fix. He's an adult. He needs to fix his own mistake. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize for texting my dad and his affair partner wife's bosses about their affair? I, 20 male, saw my dad and his wife, aka the woman who helped break up my parents' marriage, for the first time in a few years the other weekend. This all comes back to something that happened 8 years ago. I was 12. I knew my dad had cheated on my mom. They were divorcing at the time, and I was at my dad's house. He was already living with his affair partner, and they left me in the same room as their phones. So I opened up their work contacts and texted their bosses about the affair, saying a lot of not-so-great things about them both. My dad's wife found out about it first, and she freaked out. She was screaming and asking what the heck I did, and called me a little turd. I laughed in her face pretty much, and when my dad realized, he was more calm but asked me why I'd do something like that. I said something to the effect of actions have consequences, and how he used to tell me that all the time. It was this big issue for over a year. I refused to apologize for it, and so they stopped letting me come over, because I used to gloat that there was nobody I wouldn't tell. I saw my dad a couple of times after that, but it had been easily 4 years since I saw him last before the other weekend. It came up during dinner. My dad's wife brought it up, and she said I ruined their reputations and that they had never recovered from it, so I owed them a huge apology. She said I could have cost them everything and asked what I expected them to do. I told her she didn't want me to answer that because my opinion of them wasn't very high. I refused to apologize, and she tried to start a fight, but I ignored her. My grandparents told her to quiet down, but she was sulking and making it all about her and my dad. She tried to demand an apology again after an hour, and my grandparents asked her and my dad to leave. My grandparents said they regretted inviting them. Most of my aunts and uncles found it funny, and one of my uncles even told me my dad and his wife have cheated on each other at least 3 times, which made me so happy. Apparently, they're sensitive about it, which is why she shut up when I told her she didn't want to know what I'd expect them to do. But then one of my aunts was like, I should have apologized for the sake of the time and place it happened in. She told me what I did was too much and that I should realize involving myself like that was wrong. I don't regret it, and I'm not sorry, so I feel no apology is warranted. But for the sake of curiosity, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It was 8 years ago, and you were a child. Now your dad's wife is the child. Tell dad's wife to get over it, and tell your aunt to mind her own business instead. Hopefully, that's the last I see of my dad or his wife. I did not enjoy being in their presence again. This is just me, however. I get the distinct feeling that dad and the current wife deserve one another. I actually agree. They can stop hurting others by being together and cheating on each other. Not the a-hole. You were 12. For them to be carrying on about it 8 years later is ridiculous. Besides, they were wrong and hurt your mother. They should be apologizing for that. I don't think she ever let it go, really. Probably spent the last 8 years waiting for the day I'd cry about how sorry I am, when the truth is, I was never sorry. And if I didn't regret it when Dad stopped making time for me, I wasn't going to be sorry for her. Not the a-hole. You were 12 and justifying angry. Any relative badgering you for an apology needs to be reminded that we're only 12. Your dad had no business having you and his mistress over at the same time. I reminded my aunt that Dad's wife was the one to bring it up. She could have been an adult and focused on the reason we were there and ignored me. Then nobody would have been asked to leave. Last story. My mom and stepdad said I'm making a big deal out of sharing a room on vacation, and I should still consider it a vacation for me. Am I the a-hole? I, 16 male, am in a blended family. My mom and dad had me. My dad died, and my mom remarried when I was 8. My stepdad's ex-wife walked out on him, and my stepbrothers, 12 and 10, because she couldn't handle their oldest having special needs. At home, I share a room with Jaden, 12. He has developmental delays that cause him to remain more like a younger child than a 12-year-old. He's not independent. He can be clingy like a younger kid, and he needs someone with him when he sleeps because he gets scared and wakes up. He's also a really big talker and keeps me up some nights. My stepbrothers don't get along, so he was put in with me to keep the peace. I don't really like sharing a room with him. I told my mom and my stepdad this before. They told me they understand, but we only have 2 bedrooms for the 3 of us, and it's more harmonious and better for him if he's not with someone who gets so annoyed they treat him badly like his brother Camden does. For the most part, I try to make the most of it. I got a divider put in our room a couple of years ago, and it helps me feel like I have some space. But it gets tiring when he wakes me up in the middle of the night or wants to cuddle with me. I don't let him into my bed. My stepdad helps enforce that because he knows I would sleep on the couch if my bed was taken over, and then my stepbrother would scream the whole house awake. We don't go on vacations, ever, because Jaden has a lot of therapies that cost so much money, and we have stuff at home to help soothe him, and those are expensive and cost a lot to keep running, according to my mom. We did go on vacation this summer, and I was supposed to get my own room this time. But when we got there, that didn't happen. To make it worse, I didn't even have a bed because there was only one queen-size bed in the room. I did have my sleeping bag with me, so I slept in that. But I had to sleep on stuff on my sleeping bag so Jaden would know I was in there. I hated the whole vacation, and my mom told me it wasn't meant to be that way, but it was better than Jaden and Camden fighting for 10 whole days. By day 2, I was over it. It wasn't a vacation to or for me, or however I should be saying that. It was their vacation, but I didn't relax or get a break from the typical stuff. I still had to think of Jaden and only Jaden. I told both sets of my grandparents and my aunts and uncles when they asked about it. I told my cousins. I didn't pretend I had fun or loved it. My mom's parents asked her why I had to make more sacrifices, and they told her she really needs to figure out better stuff for me. Both sets of grandparents offered to let me spend more time with them, as in overnights or moving in. My mom and stepdad said that wasn't needed and asked why I'd leave my family. My dad's parents said I shouldn't be forced to play caretaker at night, and clearly they can't afford to give me the privacy and space a 16-year-old needs. Once enough of my extended family told my mom and stepdad this stuff, they both accused me of making a big deal out of it. They said it was a vacation, even if it wasn't the one I wanted, and I should consider it one because I got away from our house for 10 days and got new experiences. Except I didn't, because we're limited in what we can all do as a family because of Jaden. My mom and stepdad are still mad about how I see the vacation, but it was ruined for me with everything that happened. I'm not exaggerating or lying about it. I didn't have fun like I expected because I didn't even get to be comfortable at night. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You should not be sharing a room as a caretaker of your stepbrother on a regular basis to begin with. You are not his parent. My grandparents all told my mom and stepdad the same thing, but they say it's not like that, even though it actually is. The only reason it needs to be me is because he needs to be comforted by someone's presence and sometimes soothed at night. That's not supposed to be my job, but it is, and I can sort of live with it. But on vacation, I wanted a break from that, and I didn't get one. It's understandable that they're concerned about him, but why haven't they offered to have him sleep with them? Have you asked them that? They are his parents, not you. I did ask, but they never gave a clear answer.